Thank you all. Like I said, we all feel so inspired just hearing about your passion. And so we're just going to talk a little bit about your work and, just try to sort of weave a thread of how Ironbound Community Corporation has gotten to this point where we see, decades of service and impact. So our first question is for Charles. So Charles, over the past 55 years, ICC has seen Newark through many challenges and changes, right, as we can see in the exhibit. What do you consider to be the most pressing issues for residents today? And how is ICC helping them to take these issues on?
First of all, good evening, everyone. Thank you all for coming out to support Ironbound Community Corporation. Before we can get into the challenges of what we face nowadays at ICC and in the community, kind of need to know where programs lies and fits in all this scheme, in all this. As you all know, and I'm not going to take the history of ICC, I'm not going to take that shine away from Nancy, because I can hear Nancy talk about ICC all day. But where we lie is 55 years ago, ICC, of course, we all know, started out as child care. Because of the health issues that our children were facing, like asthma, ICC moved into the environmental justice. From there, they saw that there were needs in the community. And through these needs, we began our direct services. And that's kind of where we fall in, where I fall in with direct services. So where we fall in with direct services, we have domestic violence, financial opportunities, where we do financial literacy, where we have workforce development, and in workforce development, we're training individuals and teaching individuals how to make a livable wage as opposed to minimum wage. Because we know now in society, you really can't make much off of 15, whatever it is an hour, in order to support your family. Then we move on to our income supports. We know a lot of our community members who walk through our doors, they have they need support. They need benefits and that the federal government, that the state level, and the local level can provide. So we help them apply and get accepted into those areas. We have a family services area where any family can come in. Families that come in, a lot of our families come in like just getting into this country, just coming here. So we really help them out to get adjusted. We treat them as if they are family. My motto for my staff and programs is treat someone as if you wanted your family to be treated. So when a family walks through the door, we're going to treat you as if you are our family, because we're going to give you the services that we would want for ourselves. From there, we have our senior program. I do believe that there was a huge senior program years ago where we had we're riding seniors and taking them around. Right now, we have our Home Fronts program where we go into 50 homes of seniors who are feeling as if they're not really a part of the community so much. We want them to feel included. So we go in there, we do some light housekeeping, cooking, but more importantly for these seniors, we provide companionship for them. Ever since COVID, a lot of seniors don't really want to go out of the house out of fear of catching COVID. So what we do is we go to them, okay? And that's pretty much what we do in programs. We meet people where they are. And then we have our domestic violence program, where we have a lot of domestic violence survivors who come in the door, and that's kind of where one of the challenges are. A lot of the domestic violence victims who come in the door are survivors who actually just got here. And they're fighting and running away from the abuser who came over here with them, and there's no place for them to go. I'm going to go back to, I've only been in ICC for about 3 years. I'm going to go back to about 2.5 years ago. My true introduction to ICC is when a community member walked in the door. We don't call them clients. We call them our community members. A community member walked in the door. She ran here, escaped here, or fled here from Honduras. I happened to be covering for the whole Family Success Center because my entire staff was sick. So I'm covering for them, and she's coming in, and luckily I had a staff member there who was over our Home Fronts program who was able to translate for me. The bottom line is she came here from Honduras, and she was trying to get her children here. She left her entire family because of what she was facing in that country, and she fled here. I said, what do you need for me to do? All she needed for me to do was copy some pictures for her so she can go to whatever office she was going to, and I found out where she was going later. And she had to show pictures show proof of why she was really here. And as I'm going through these pictures and I'm copying them for her, I'm asking her what is this? Because at this point, I need to know what I'm copying. Her entire family slaughtered. And she showed me pictures of her entire family slaughtered. So when we talk about individuals coming into this country, and some people have that motto, why are they here? This is why. This is a reason why. And what we do at ICC and what we do in programs is we try to make them as included in this community as they possibly can. We do everything in our power to make sure that they feel like they belong here, that they are welcomed here, and we do everything for them from, we have them apply for their I-10s so they can get bank accounts. So we help them with that. So we have a whole financial opportunities department that will do that. From there, if it's workforce development, if it's income supports, whatever they need, we are here for them. So people just coming into the country, literally, as we walk out the door, sometimes the police are coming to our door with someone who just reached this country so that we can help them out. And we do everything that we can to. So that's one of the biggest challenges that we face. It's sort of like a triage situation, but that's one of the biggest challenges we face, and we have a lot of services in ICC to make sure that our community members, all of our community members, feel welcomed and feel included.
Thank you so much, Charles, for sharing that very, moving illustration of why the different departments and the services are so necessary in the community. So I'd like to really get specific here with you, Jane. And obviously the Early Learning Center, as you know, I hold it dear to my heart. My own children did programming there, and I have to tell you, when my youngest started school, they said, wow, why can he read like that? Wow. We discovered that he could really, really read while he was at the center, and I couldn't take any credit for it. I read, but the way, I don't know what you all did there, but even today, his teachers are extremely impressed, and I know it was the foundation he got at the center. So, I know that the state, to the contrary of my story, the state's actually grappling with some really low literacy rates right now. So tell me, what is the secret sauce at ELC? Let us know what you are all doing to counter that and beyond.
First of all, you play the role in that too, right? Because parents play a major role too. Yes, literacy is essential for school readiness, and we are all about school readiness. We actually, as a program, have school readiness goals that we share with parents too, because we want the children to be prepared for kindergarten and to be successful in life in general. And literacy is so essential for that. And it's not something that some people may think, oh, they're going to learn how to read in first grade, so that's when it always starts. No, it starts when they are babies, right? It can even start when moms are pregnant with the babies. Moms can read to the babies when they are still in the uterus. But with us, we have the babies, and that's when we start. And we also don't see literacy as something isolated. It's completely integrated with all that is related to child development. And we also have a holistic view because we think that parents are very important, so we need to make sure that we partner with the parents, we partner with the families. We see the child that belongs to a family that lives in a community that happens to be ours, like ICC has the Environment Justice Department to ensure that the families have access to resources and to a healthy environment so they can thrive, because if you're not safe, if you're not healthy, you cannot learn how to read, right? If you're hungry, you cannot learn how to read. So we see like the whole child. And we partner with parents. We teach parents that they are their first and most important teachers in their children's lives. So we talk about the importance of reading aloud. And we even have calendars in our center that the parents fill out every night, saying how many minutes they read. So can you imagine that? Like what kind of memories the child is we are forming in their minds, like having a good time with the people they love, that care for them, reading a book, so they're developing the taste for reading, that, fostering curiosity. So that's something that we do that it's very important. And of course, at the center, the teachers are trained. We implement a curriculum that is play-based, that is hands-on, and literacy is all over. Language and literacy is all over. The environment is rich, print rich. You know, they have many, many books of a variety of genres that they can have freely access to, and the teachers read many, many times from when they're babies until, you know, they leave our center. They have regular times that they can read with the children. They also have, the children can go on their own, and we encourage them to read and ask open-ended questions. We have give them many opportunities to write. Oh, they write? Yeah, they write. They write. Sometimes they scribble and they think they're writing. Sometimes they're just learning how to write their names because their names is so important to them, right? And that's it. And we take into consideration also the culture. We think it's important. We value diversity and the backgrounds, because it's important that they make connections. So when they can connect with whatever we're talking about, and if we speak in their own language, and if we read things in their own language, so it's going to make sense to them, and they're going to be encouraged to continue the journey.
I really love that. And you mentioned feeding children. The food there is amazing, right?
Yes.
None of that processed stuff. They actually feed these children real food that is cooked in the kitchen, like over the stove with pots.
From scratch.
Revolutionary in learning, right? Real food. You know, transitioning to our next question for you, Deidre. Interestingly, my youngest was graduating from ELC during the pandemic, right? We were just looking the other day at his little photo that said, like, he's a pandemic graduate. It was very cute. But, you know, what's not cute was the learning loss that happened for young people all over New Jersey. So, you know, we're dealing with learning loss. We're dealing with low literacy, obviously connected, you know, other social, emotional issues that have, you know, been brought up since and after. You and I both share a love of out-of-school time programming. So tell me about how your programming, you know, is addressing some of these needs of young people after school and during the summer.
Absolutely. So thank you so much, everyone. As far as literacy and literacy rates, we have noticed a major decline since COVID. Just looking at some of the reading and the writing, we have noticed some different things. So I tried my best to connect with the children whenever I'm creating programming. And I just think about, how can I make it fun? How can I get them interactive? How can I get them moving? So really, I think that it starts with actually listening to the children. What are their interests? What do they want to be? What do they think of themselves? How far do they think that they can go? And then from there, we can build from there. So with just reading and writing, going into some of their interests, some of their out-of-school activities, they love comic books. So we took that need and we made it fun. We dressed it up. We even got capes and masks, and really just bring that program to life so that they can see it for themselves. As mentioned in my bio, I strive to provide them with a new experience. And when I talk about a new experience, I specifically think about bringing them to somewhere where they thought that they could never be, or they may think that it's too far of a reach for them, and show them, no, it can absolutely be you. This can absolutely be your destiny, just dependent on what kind of work you're willing to put in and what kind of drive you have, and how we can not only motivate you, but how you can self-motivate yourself. So we've been really honored to bring in different programs, such as the Ascent to Equality program, where we spoke with different members of the aerospace industry, as well as the Armin Roy Foundation, where they taught them more about STEM and learning and building, and telling them just about so many different possibilities that are within their reach. Every single day when we go outside and play and they get in that recreational activity for the day, there are planes flying over our heads, loud as could be, big as could be. And I looked up and I said, guys, have you ever thought about flying a plane? No, I couldn't do that. I'm scared. I'm this and that. And I'm like, guys, it can be you. Being able to connect with the Ascent to Equality program, Just from them learning, playing video games and using a joystick, they can use those same skills to fly drones and be able to work in that same industry. So it's really listening to what their interests are and thinking about, how can I make that bigger? How can I get them to dream on a larger scale? How can I build them up so that they are confident enough to say, that can be me. I can work that hard. I know where I may lack, and make them comfortable to ask for help and let them know that we're truly here to support them. Not so that it just looks good for us, but because we really care about their future and how we can really nurture it to show them that any possibility is available. So with that being said, I just want our students to know that it's not really your circumstance. That has nothing to do with where you can be, where you're going, with just that belief in yourself and the proper support from your parents, or even just sometimes your community, because also understanding their parents may also have their own things in, that are out of their control that they have to deal with. But showing them that as a family, as a community, we're supporting them, we're seeing where they want to go, and we're trying to take every dream and aspiration and really bring it to life.
Wow. Thank you so much. That is amazing. And, you know, the care and the dedication are showing all the way through here. So we're going to pivot a bit with our programs, I should say, to our housing and EJ side. So, you know, this is all direct services are the foundation for strong environmental justice, housing justice, because, you know, people's basic needs have to be addressed before you can start talking with them about air quality and things like that. Very important, but, you know, first things first, right? Education, jobs, housing. So we're going to hear next from Shavani Hurry, who you've all been introduced to, who also has a background in education. So, you know, as you see, there's also that theme happening here. So how would you say that, you know, with your unique background, how does your work align with what we're hearing here, you know, ICC's overall mission and engagement with the community?
Yeah, thank you. And I'm honored to be here. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. So I started teaching at Pace University, teaching political science during the pandemic. And my focus is race and ethnic politics. And there's a massive difference, however, between research and actual real-world applications. I'm sorry, I thought somebody was saying something.
No, it's the acoustics.
Okay, well, this is what they mean by echo, guys. You can hear every single thing. So that makes a lot of sense. Nonetheless, there's a difference between real-world applications and research. And when I am conducting research, it's really important to me, whether I'm reading a book or I am looking up research online, it's really important to me that that person has lived experiences, especially when we're talking about race. And that's important because as Black and brown people, really, our power is in our stories. So I do like to highlight that, and I do like to make sure that whenever I'm doing research, I am making sure that I'm amplifying or supporting somebody's voice that has a story to tell, especially when it comes to race. And the EJ team has been telling stories for the past 30, 40 years. You can correct me if I'm wrong, Nancy, on that number, maybe more than 40 years, right? So we've been telling people stories, community member stories for a very long time. And it really started when families realized that, yes, we need to prioritize childcare, yes, we need to prioritize education, but we also have holistic needs that we need to think about all around. We have environmental justice concerns in our backyard that's occurring. We have dioxins and all these chemicals. And that was 30, 40 years ago. Flash forward in 2024, we're still fighting environmental injustices. We have potentially a fourth power plant coming to our community that we're fighting today. So these fights have continued, and to be frank, it's because of environmental racism. And the environment is where you live, which is why housing justice is environmental justice. It's one and the same. And when I think about housing justice, I think about the necessities: safe, affordable, decent living. That's unfortunately not reality in our city, where we're seeing development, right, that people simply cannot afford, but they've lived here forever. We're seeing displacement as an actual reality in our community. So when I think about housing justice, yes, we want affordability, we want decent, safe living, but it's just not the reality. But how do we get there, right, is the major concern. But we're organizers at heart. I'm an organizer at heart. And we get there through coalition building. We can't do it on our own, right? We have our partners like Homes for All, Newark Community Street Team, Clinton Hill, and we have this unity because it's important that we are not seeing Newark as different wards, but we're one city. And that's how we get through the relationship building, and also relationship building with our community and building genuine connections with our community in the process. And it's not always easy, right, when you're organizing, because community members have real needs, immediate needs. You want me to go to the zoning meeting, right, and you want me to go to city council, but I can't feed my family tonight, right? So what does that connection, right, have to do with me? But when you can connect those pieces that, hey, if you go to the zoning board meeting, you're going to see that, well, this big development that's coming to our community, right, that's going to have, I don't know, let's say 2,000, 2,500, right, starting. And as a result of that, you're going to see that that's the connection. If you can't maybe afford, right, this development, maybe that's the reason why you can't also afford, I don't know, medical bills or childcare or whatever your needs are. They're all connected. And once you can piece that together for community, you'll see a really big impact. And that's something that we emphasize when we're engaging community. But there's still work to be done. I'm almost done, I promise. There's still work to be done. We still have major fights. You know, currently within the city, there just simply is not enough rental assistance programs to support the current needs that we're seeing right now. We do not have enough shelters. We do not have enough legal assistance. So these are resources that we absolutely need to combat, but we still fight.
Thank you so much, Shavani. I think those were, you know, bars right there. We don't have enough, but we still fight.
Absolutely.
And I think that that is the legacy that we know that Ironbound has carried on with exactly what we have, exactly where we are, with exactly who we're with, we still fight. So last but not least on the panel, we're going to hear from Nancy Zak. And Nancy, very, very simple question for you, because we know the answer is going to be so profound. Having witnessed, you know, so much over the years, your leadership in archiving ICC's history is commendable. Tell us, why did you think it was important to take these photos? You know, why? What were you thinking as you were, you know, sort of saving all of these flyers and posters? And, you know, we know that that hasn't always been a welcome habit, right? Saving things, and, you know, I guess if you know, but any of you who've ever seen Nancy's desk over at Elm, and, you know, before that, some of the other offices will know that it might have been a little bit hard to navigate. Nancy would know where everything was, but others would just look at it like, what is all this? So, you know, tell us, why did you think it was important, and what is the story behind all of this?
Well, that is why it is so wonderful to see this exhibit here in this library. Out of all those chaotic boxes that were stuffed in closets and went through a fire and a major flood, things were saved, and now they are here in this accessible, beautiful setting here in the Newark Public Library. And so we thank the Newark Public Library for doing that, for making it so accessible and beautiful. There's still more boxes in my house. I have to thank Arnold for putting up with part of the archive in our little house, and luckily Beth has her own apartment now, so she can have her own space, and we can use her old room for part of what's left over. Why was it important? Well, and I have to thank Mark. There were a couple people right at the very beginning of my chaos who said, you know, this is really important and you can go forward with this. Claudia Ocello was one of those, and Mark Krasovic, who's here, who's our MC tonight, who said, you know, you could really do something with this. And the reason it seems important to me is that people should understand what the community has done and how the community has worked to make itself safe and to try to clean up the air and try to clean up the water and try to have enough park space. I see one of our Spark people in the back, hi Mark, who have gone through, you know, so many years, and by fighting for 5 years, when we beat the city and the county and the Yankee guy who wanted to build his baseball stadium and knock down all the trees, when we won that 5-year fight, they said, okay, we'll give you the old park you want. And all through the fight, we kept saying, and P.S., 50,000 people in the Ironbound, we need more recreation space, not take 50% of it away with one blow. So we also had our plan, community plans that we were doing. Damon is here, and he did many of those plans with us, and we're still working on getting that riverfront walkway to be finished. And some of our councilmen here, I thought I see Councilman Crump. Take that message back. We want to get that finished so that we'll be able to walk to Clay Street. That was the vision, and we are going to try to make that happen. And I see Cynthia here from the Community Advisory Group for the Passaic River, who can tell you about the ongoing effort to clean up the river after all that happened to it. We are not giving up, and I have to mention also and to thank our, I have these cards here in my bag for the Van Buren Street the Van Buren Street Branch Library Archive. So if people are around there, and you can go there anytime the library is open, there are files there on all the things that we've been talking about and all the things you see in the exhibit upstairs. The fight against the airplane noise, the fight to save the firehouses, the fight for the pool, and all the fight we saved, the fight against 6 incinerators. We beat 5 of them. You can learn, you can see the information in the Van Buren Library. If you can't go to the library, there are ways to see it digitally, and I'll wait here if people want to bring your pen and copy down how you do it, digital.npl.org. Click on Ironbound Community Corporation. Click on Ironbound Voices. We had a newspaper. And one of the reasons that I stayed with Ironbound Community Corporation, yes, you could say I was stuck in a rut, but part of it is, one of the main reasons is that I could learn new things. When I started there in 1978, I learned all about publishing a newspaper. We published it. I had to learn how to operate a typesetter. We did not have computers and all that stuff that you young people have now. And we published that from 1978 to 2001. Every issue of that has been digitized and is available on the Newark Public Library's digital library collection. And I thank my daughter, Beth, who's smiling at me back there, for helping with all of that and with all of the digital work for the park. But I wanted to recognize Carl Schwartz, who is the director, there he is, wave your hand, Carl, at the Van Buren Library. And they became our partners when we decided to try to archive, to tell these stories, and they became the partners so we could have the exhibit there. It's in 3 languages, Portuguese, Spanish, and English, so that anyone can go in there when the library is open. Don't go on Monday, they're closed on Monday. And go upstairs, and you can learn much more about ICC. The last thing I have to say is that there are so many. One of the things in there is the guest book for people who have used the archive there. And they say, thank you, ICC, for all the good trouble you have gotten. Keep fighting the fight for equality and social justice in Ironbound and in Newark. That was from the vice principal of Eastside High School. We have teacher here from Oliver Street School, and I have to tell you that tonight in this room, I met somebody who remembered coming to Riverbank Park when we had the community learning program after we saved the park. One of my ICC colleagues, who I just re-met tonight, said, I remember going there. And so these programs that we've been doing, Music and Art Day, for 20 years we've been doing that program, and it makes an impact with people. And the people in this room, Bill, my good friend, who has done tenant organizing with me all around the city, helped us go into different buildings and deal with rats and non-working elevators and everything else. I have to just say that the people that I'm working with are how I keep going. For 47 years, I think it's actually been for me. I try to have to do it 2025 minus 1978 every time. Thank you all for being here and sharing in this work. And we look.
Wow, okay, so before we get to our Q&A, you all have note cards on your table. If you were able, and wanted to ask a question of our panelists, you should be maybe handing that note card or holding it up. So Nancy, thank you so much. Nancy is a testament to analog organizing. The true story, you don't really see organizing like this anymore. It's very difficult. It is a calling, it is not a profession. It's something you must feel very deeply about because, I've heard plenty of stories of Nancy not being paid for work and, working in different ways and not stopping working just because checks weren't coming in. And, I stand on the shoulders of folks like Nancy. If you, we happen to be in a time where, no one expects to work anymore without being paid, and rightfully so. But we know that organizing was not that. It was something that people really did, from the heart, and because they knew a change needed to happen. And that is the spirit we still need to tap into through the work that we do. So thank you so much for sharing your story, Nancy. And we want to open it up for any questions or thoughts. Okay, I see a card. If you have a card, please hold it up and someone will come around to collect. Well, you're close to me, so I'll Okay, all right. So just a comment and a thought here. Thank you, ICC, for your efforts. Hyatt Court, Terrell Holmes, Chairman Robinson, Newark, New Jersey, NAACP. Thank you so much for your comments. I think we still have a little bit of time for questions, Q&A. Don't be shy. It's a friendly bunch here. Okay, I see a card over there. Someone's coming to collect it. Okay, so we have a question. Please talk a little more about ICC's work with other community groups in Newark. And Shavani, I think you mentioned working in a citywide effort, so maybe you could talk a little bit more about the work with other community groups.
Well, the question was work with other community groups?
In Newark, yes. Just talk a little bit more about ICC's work.
Well, I think the work that we do with other community groups is important because there's been this long-standing, not the word stereotype, but this notion that we're separated because we're in different wards. So when we do work with other community groups like Homes for All, Newark Community Street Team, Clinton Hill, Right to the City, which is on more of a national scale, that work is important because it unifies us and it expands our voice. It gives kind of a microphone. If one ward is going through something, then we all are going through it, right? Because we're one city. So unity is really important when we are building with other community organizations. But I also feel like Nancy may have a lot to say about that.
Well, I think, yeah, we learned pretty early on that if we hooked up with John L. Smith and the Newark swim team in the South Ward, we could get some action on the recreation issues. And we held a candlelight vigil with John and his swim team folks over at City Hall. And we realized that we were more powerful that way. And of course, then we had Newark Coalition for Neighborhoods, which is still going on. I guess it has a different name, but all the community organizations all around the city of Newark meeting and working together. We have some pictures, I don't know if they're here, but jobs and recreation, everybody marching down City Hall, all the groups together, doing marches, and doing hard work on things like the master plan, and also the housing, the HUD Tenants Coalition, which was a citywide group. We did start with our local Hyatt and Terrell and Aspen River Park groups, but we realized that there were lots of groups that were privately owned and they had different regulations than the public housing, and so we formed the HUD Tenants Coalition in 1987, and that brought together people from all over the city, Right to Housing, which was citywide. We went to Trenton, we did all kinds of stuff. So yeah, it's a way of, and now with the toxic waste, of course, we had to have people from all over the city, the surrounding suburban areas, were part of our fight against some of the incinerators, against the at-sea incinerator, which was the big one, international company that was going to burn toxic chemicals on a boat in Newark Bay and also in the south somewhere. We had a big flotilla in Bayonne of all people who had little boats, and Greenpeace came and joined us. Greenpeace helped us out on several occasions. On the occasion when my husband Arnold got arrested for planting flowers outside of the Passaic Valley Sewage Commission. And we have a meeting coming up next week, the 14th. So please go and look up PVSC. They've made it a little harder. It's a Zoom meeting, but you have to register with the commissioners now. And so our commissioner on the PVSC is Councilman Quintana, so you can talk to him. I know he's on our side. The mayor is on our side. They're against it. We just need to have many, many, many people there, as many as we can, even not saying anything, just being part of the audience. It's good.
Yep, and a true organizer always ends with the call to action. So thank you, Nancy, for reminding us about the meeting coming up. And I think you can see JV. Do you have some flyers? No? No more? Oh, but Nancy has one here. You can take a picture of the QR code if you come up. So I know we're going to be transitioning soon, and we have some really great questions. Nancy, can you tell us, someone has discovered photos of the first community garden at ICC. How would they add photos to the archives? So anyone out here who might have, photos of the early work, how would they add those? Is there a way that you know about? Or Tom? Yeah. So if someone had photos they wanted to add to the archives, how would they do that?
The ICC archive, I think they contact me. Contact Joe, I guess.
Contact me.
Nancy. Okay, so you'd contact Nancy. Nancy, you're Zak at ironboundcc.org?
Yes.
Okay, so that's how you would get photos into the archives. So I know we only have a few minutes left.
And by the way, if you want to see a lot of photos that are already online, there is an exhibit online called picturingjustice.tumblr.com. And that has many photos with captions in chronological order that has all been digitized. It's made available. Picturingjustice.tumblr.com.